What's good, Pack Nation? Welcome to the Pack with Gary Live. Um, you know, we do the normal stuff, discussing all things Wolfpack basketball, good, bad, the ugly, everything in between. This live, we're getting a lot of clips, a little bit of access to what Coach Gainey has going on with the players. I just wanted to chop it up with y'all and see how you feel about it. Now, if you are new to, you know, Packing with Gary, go ahead and subscribe. All right, turn on the notifications so you can jump on these lives and we're talking about stuff. But we're just gonna get into, conversation. I will go ahead and tell you all what I think. I'm really more hype about the access. I'm gonna be honest. It's not about, how the guys are particularly looking. I do have some comments on that, but I don't recall a coach giving us this much access, in summertime workouts and just clipping and keeping us engaged. It's like Gainey knows he don't do a lot of talking, but he knows he's got to give the fan base something, right? There's too many unknowns. So it seems to me he's like, look, I'm gonna let y'all see the foundation I'm laying, right? I'm constantly feeding you. It's like weekly, we're getting multiple things. He's miking up his assistants, right? He let the press come in there to watch a little bit of practice. Um, he's not really hiding stuff and trying to shut us out and try to surprise people, with what NC State's going to be like. So I appreciate that. Um, and that's important to me because it's like, when you know you're good at something, you don't mind showing that you're good at it, right? You have nothing to hide. I do this well, and I feel that's how he's moving, which gives me a little bit more confidence. If I'm gonna be honest. Let me go and see how you all are feeling because you have chimed in early. Appreciate that. All right, James Johnson always here early with it. I think we're gonna be fine. What James says. I like the fact that he's going to stress defense. Something Will the Snake Wade didn't. Offense will come. Not worried about that. Let's go pack. Dominate. I hear you, James. Um, David. David Johnson. Always here. Appreciate you, David. Good evening, Gary. Ready to discuss some Wolfpack basketball. The best form around. I appreciate that. James says also greetings and salutations, Gary. Got to remember my manners. It's all good. I know you all. It's all love. Um, Christopher Burke. What's up, Gary? Hope you're doing good, man. Loving what I saw. Some clips. Yep. Hall looks huge, and EY got a solid shot. Lots of attention to detail. Liking it so far. Absolutely. Absolutely. David Johnson says IPS had a clip on Preston at me, basically just showing him shooting the basketball. My concern was where are the assists? They didn't like my tune. You're the best around. Oh, I appreciate that, man. Appreciate the support. I'm gonna go ahead until some more people get in here. I'm gonna go ahead and shout out, our den members right now. We got 6 feet 5 in Florida. We got Chester Loggins, and we got Bob Funk. They're gonna, normally chime in on the live, but definitely appreciate y'all. Please keep it up. And I just really want to see how y'all feeling about these highlights. Because if you haven't seen them, let's talk about that. Like so far, we've seen some 2-on-2 type drills. It's really a drill about like closing out on the shot and contesting a shot in the paint, I guess, right? So you're walling up, hand straight up in the air, and then you have the guy leaving the paint to close out on the three. Now, with this particular drill, I'm seeing a whole lot of blow-bys, right? So I'm sure, Gainey's going to clean that up. But they're closing out, and some of these bigs are closing out and getting blown right on by, which we know is a problem. But you're going to have more people on the court whenever that happens. So hopefully the closeout's a little bit better. You have the help side, and they just won't be going directly into the paint. Um, I will say, Mikey, his ability to handle the basketball is better than I thought it was going to be. Okay. So Michael Wilkins does have some of that DJ Burns type game where I feel like he can post up further out than on the block. And I also feel like, he could face up to the basket and get to the rim if he had to. So that's surprising. I don't know what I was thinking. I guess I was thinking of him being more of like a little mid range jump shot guy or jump hook. Well, I think he got more to his game than that. So that's good, Pack. That's what I'm looking forward to seeing. It's little stuff like that. That's why I appreciate what Gainey is doing and just giving us tidbits. Let me get caught up with y'all here before I dive in some more. Hey Gary, from Mellow Fellow. Hey Gary, I really appreciate what you do for us diehard Pack fans. Absolutely, Mellow. Welcome to the live, man. Let's see. Kevin Johnson says the boys are already putting on weight. Some are losing. I think this is going to be a hard working team. I agree. We talked about that recently. Gainey said, just yesterday, or hey, I believe it was yesterday, um, the guys play hard. So he's not having to coach effort, which is a positive, man. You don't have to waste your time as a coach trying to coach effort and making them play harder and stopping your drill and all that because they're not putting in the work they need to. So that's always a plus. He can focus on the details and everything like that once the season comes and not have to worry about that. I mean, wonderful news right there. Christopher Burke says it's all going to be a process. Definitely going to be some growing pains for sure. I think they're going to improve as the season goes on. I agree about Mikey. He's looking solid. Yeah, so we need to continue to pump Mikey up. Y'all already know I'm on the Mikey train. I think he's going to have a big year compared to what people are talking about. I clipped us talking about him on here. He liked it on X. Mikey's paying attention. Hey, Mikey, I'm on board, man. I need you to go ahead on, get busy, and surprise everybody because I know that's coming. Uh, Eddie Thomas says, "Hi, Gary. What's up, Eddie? Always in here. Appreciate you." Gainey's looking for more and more Gainey is looking more and more comfortable as head coach. Definitely seems to be in control at practices. Waiting to see how the talent shakes out in the preseason. I hear you. I think we all are. David Johnson says, I hope we take an overseas trip this summer. Corey from Pack Power asked him about that. Would definitely benefit the team in the long run, in my opinion. Yeah, to me, it doesn't sound like he's going to make that move. He said he hadn't really thought about that just yet. In the future, they probably will do it, but we'll see. I mean, we're in July. So if that trip was going to be happening, it probably would have been in the works by now. And they haven't even discussed it as a staff. So, yeah, but I agree with you. Definitely need to take those trips as much as possible, especially since they can do it every year now. MK Jong says, which player has shown the most improvement under Coach Gainey's coaching so far? It's a good question. I don't know who's shown the most improvement. Right now, we just know um, about the strength and conditioning, right? Who's had the most gains and losses and stuff like that. As for like a skill set, we don't know. Uh, we'll have to see, who's really stepped up. But I will tell you, and I'm gonna harp on this until you all either prove me otherwise and send me something that makes me think otherwise, or I see it in one of these clips. I still don't see all the hype about Jerkovic, like Robert. I'm seeing him in the drills, and I'm like, I'm not seeing it, guys. That's that. Uh, let's see. Jack Simpson says, haven't seen Paul in any of the practice clips. So, Jack, there was something put out today where I believe EY is trying to close out on that type drill where you're trying to get out to the three. He's closing out on Paul, and Paul just pulled up and hit it in his face, and he's like, "What I'm supposed to do?" It was such a good shot. The coaches had to tell him, "Hey, man, that was good defense. It was just a better shot." Right. So you might want to catch that. They did put that out earlier today. If you just check the social media for NC State, I believe. James Johnson says, in order to make that Final Four run, some or one of our big going to have to become a force. I think expecting potential natty this. Hold up, let me, James. You always go in, James. In order to make that Final Four run, some or one of our bigs is going to have to become a force. I'm expecting potential natty this year, blocking shots, rebounding, or scoring. If Mikey, then great. Okay, that's a lot. NPLS says it's impressive to see how much attention to detail is emphasized in these practice clips. Unlike previous coach who did not show signs of practice or coaching. That's a fact. This is a great point here. You know, and maybe that's why I feel like I was starving for stuff like this because the previous staff didn't do that, and that coach was just what he was. I'm really going to be eating it up if Gainey is like showing actual coaching in the game and making adjustments, completely switching stuff up, changing up his lineups. Like when I start seeing stuff like that, I'm like, oh, he's got it, right? Because our last coach, yeah, we know, yeah, he was terrible at that. Jack Simpson says, realistically, how do we stack up amongst the triangle? So Jack, we in the triangle, we know we're behind Duke, clearly, okay. But aside from that, I think we stack up pretty well with Carolina. Um, they're putting a whole new team together. So are we. They have their limitations where they're, I guess, more guard heavy. They have bigs, but they don't have like the bigs they did last year. They sort of switched up. So, um, I think we're in a close tie for like second out of the three. Maybe, I don't know. We're going to see. I just don't feel that confident about Carolina being, super, super strong at, competing for the ACC title. I do feel that way about Duke. It is what it is. We know that is a machine over there right now. So that's what I would say. Crystal Burke says some of the drills you wouldn't see Paul and Keene. Heard they both have some bumps and bruises, and they are good, but they are good. So I hear. Hearing practices have been tough. Yeah, yeah, I did read that Keene is not practicing right now, but I guess Paul started again today because he definitely was in a couple of clips that they shared. David Johnson says, I'm a believer as well. Anytime NC State has post play, we can be a force. Look out, Wolfpack Nation. That is a fact. We've talked about this before, David. Our teams that have done exceptionally well had good bigs. I mean, no matter how the game has changed and moved to shooting more threes, if you got a good big that we can sort of lean on, we've been decent. I can't think of a team where we had that and we weren't pretty good. Um, so you're right, and I'm hoping that between Mikey and Shaw Hall, who I think, again, if this is your first time, these are my two guys, and I'm like, I think they're gonna be a whole lot better than what people think. If these two guys step up and become major contributors, we're gonna be just fine. MKX8 Design says good coaching isn't just about X's and O's, it's about player development. What specifically are you seeing in Coach Gainey's approach that makes him stand out? Oh, that's a phenomenal question. Thank you for that. So to me, it's a few things. It's not just his coaching, but it's sort of the approach he's taken to the job. First, the clips I'm seeing of his assistants are important. He did not go hire uh, Timu level assistants. Okay, these guys are for real, and when they're mic'd up and as they're going through the drills with the players, they seem like head coaches. If you didn't know that wasn't a head coach, you could probably pass that clip off as look at the head coach handling such and such drill. I think that's important. With Gainey being a first time head coach, he did a great job of putting guys around him that know what they're doing. Like, and it's clear. I think those guys have the respect of the players when they're talking to them and correcting them in drills. I don't see anybody not giving eye contact and walking away or holding their head down because somebody's getting on top of them or even chastising them, joking around with them. It seems to be a good vibe with the assistants. And I think that's going to go a long way. It may be minor, but it seems huge to me. For Gainey, specifically in what he's doing, the fact that he will stop a drill and not just, he's efficient with it. He's not, oh, stop, let me get on you, da 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 da, and make everybody watch. It's more like, stop, I'm getting on you, get somebody else in there, keep the drill going, and you get off on the side, do some stuff, right? He keeps it moving. I like that about him. And I really like the fact that, and this is more of like his personality, I guess, but if he is willing, we haven't seen the clip yet, but he says it. And we know he's not one to do a whole lot of talking. He says that he's going to coach these guys hard to a point of like discomfort, excuse me, or uncomfortability. And so, if you coaching your guys so hard that they don't like you, but you know that, and you're gonna make sure they're still okay and respect you, that is a big deal. The fact that he understands he has to do that is a big deal. You don't need to be buddy buddy. You don't need to have your player buying you chains and all of this stuff like that. We don't need none of that. We need coach to come in there and be the enforcer and make sure they do stuff the way that he wants it done. You know, our previous coach had a little bit of, oh, I let them try to do it their way before I step in. Now we're not doing that. And I like that about Gainey. So that's my response to this. And the MKX8 design elaborates that more importantly, how much the team's defense identity do you think comes from Gainey's influence? All of it. Because he went and got a bunch of dudes that did not play defense. Uh, you're talking about out of 13 players, maybe one, Evans, is the one that was like a defensive guy. Oh, Shaw Hall, another one, but at a lower level. So all of the identity is coming from him. The defensive principles, walling up, closing out, not giving up open threes. You got to remember, Paul's coming from, hey, let him shoot it. So he's got to switch it and make sure he's locking up. So the answer is all. All right, David Johnson says, Gainey saying he likes the five players we have for the two front court position. Go Wolfpack. Absolutely. He's talking about his bigs. Like, he got what he wants. He feels comfortable there. So I'm cool with it. I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, he talks about EY like EY is 6'8" barefoot, not with the sneakers on. So he's probably a little bit bigger than what we thought he was going to be, which is a pleasant surprise. James Johnson says, I think Jurkovic could be that unicorn player that we need. Give post minutes and perimeter shooting. Let's not sleep on Jurkovic. That boy receives an international experience, and he's won. James, I hear you, and I appreciate you for this comment. I am all the way REM sleep on him. Deep sleep. I'm not a fan. I do not believe his game is going to transition to the ACC. and I want to be so wrong. I want this to be the biggest wrong take I've had on my channel because I see him, and before he even got in our practice facility, I wasn't bought in, and they haven't highlighted him doing anything that's changing my mind. If you go look at the clips that are coming out, I'm seeing him closing out um on Mikey. Like, he looks slow. That's my concern. Now, I'll give you that the European coach spoke about he's savvy. Normally, you got to be savvy when you lack athleticism, right? It's that old man game. Like, oh, I probably can't dunk on you, do whatever, but I'm smart with it. Okay, fine. Maybe that's going to be him. But I feel like there's just too much athleticism lacking for me to get excited about him on this particular team. That's all right. MK Jean says, okay, so great practice clips. However, what areas of NC State's game still concern you despite the positive practice clips? So, I mentioned it. With some of these clips, the closeout is poor, right? There's drills they're doing where they're walling up, cool, and then the ball is skipped, and you have to close out to the 3-point shooter. And on the closeout, they're closing out poorly, and the person's going right by them to the rim. That's a concern, especially for guards that it's happening to. But again, it you're going to have some help defense. Hopefully, that person steps over to cut off that drive. But it'd be a lot better if you don't set yourself up for that, so that they don't kick it out to the person that's being helped off of. So that's my major concern. Trying to think if there's anything else that was concerning for me. I would say even with that drill, they're shooting the ball and you have to get the rebound. I don't see any like definite elite rebounders from any position, even our bigs when the ball comes off the rim so far. So those are probably two things. But I know that that's what he is really, really focused on. So by the time season starts, that's probably not going to be a concern at all. Any of that stuff. Jack says, "What is the best offensive and defensive system we should run with this group?" I couldn't tell you. I don't know the best system. Defensively, offensively, I can't tell you. Defensively, it's hard to say because I would need to see like 5 players on the court at a time and how they rotate, how they communicate. I'm not gonna say if, when, because I know how Gainey's operating. We get a clip of the guys just on defense, rotating to their man, talking, covering, ball screen. Then I'd have a good idea. If all of that is poor, then obviously you're gonna have to play a lot more like matchup zone. Um, Not quite as much man, but the way he's talking, the communication is amazing, and they communicate like a veteran team. So it's going to be a whole lot of man and pressure D. We'll see. NPLS says practice clips don't guarantee wins, but they can definitely show a team's culture and habits. Yeah, and that's pretty much what we're getting, right? I feel like, from what these clips do is it's Gainey's way of building excitement, helping the fans connect. The previous coach did a whole lot of talking. Gainey knows he ain't really about that. It's more like I'm action oriented. I'm about the process. I'm not gonna talk you to death. So instead of doing these little interviews with players and telling you about their background and all that stuff right now, he is like, look, um, we're gonna do these drills, and I'm gonna let you in on the foundation we're laying. And so you should feel like you're a part of this foundation. I know I do. I'm like, look, I can feel right now, like once I see the product come basketball season, that we've sort of been along the ride, the growth ride, right? You'll be able to see if Shaw Hall is doing something that we didn't really see during the summer. If you see Jerkovic is finally doing something that impresses me, I'm like, oh, he wasn't doing that when he first got here, but they told me I was sleeping on him. Those types of things. If you give us this little bit now, it creates that excitement, and then you start seeing those things play out. So I definitely agree. It definitely helps us feel a part of the culture as we see these habits being built. Christopher Burke says Adams been looking good too. I think he's going to be a problem. Absolutely. I don't. I listen. Adams is. He has a chance to be our steal from the portal. Okay. The fact my man wasn't efficient last season and was injured and coming off an injury probably hurt his portal stock a little bit and has people undervaluing what he can bring to the table. But do not forget, he was a McDonald's All American for a reason. They don't just pick these guys for no reason. There's something there. If we tap into that, it's probably going to end up being a starter. I mean, I don't see how you keep him off the court because he's so functional. You got a guy that can back you up at the point. He can shoot. He's got size. He can play the three. It's a perfect scenario to have like a Swiss Army knife like that. David Johnson says, uh, I really like this setting talking NC State basketball. Oh, these other sites are a bunch of bumba clots. Is really that's David. That's hilarious. I appreciate that, man. um, David Johnson says 13 players on scholarship. Gainey said he did that for a reason. Yes, he left two spots open. Now we talked about this in our last live, David. I don't know if he's like if he has his eye specifically on anybody that maybe will get another year, right, in this 5 for 5 lawsuit stuff, or if there's somebody overseas. Um, who knows? Like he says he likes his 13, but it seems that leaving these two spots open is going to be a pattern. It's not going to be a 1 year thing. It's not like he's always ready to be like, oh, let me boom have one open just in case I find something, which I think is smart. So that's definitely. I mean, we haven't seen any of the other coaches doing that. They'll fill those spots up. He's definitely doing some things different. James Johnson says Gainey going to learn on the job. He's been trained by some of college basketball's best coaches. He's put together, I think, a great staff to supplement him, and he's going to discipline folks when he has to. I agree. Now I don't know that Gainey's going to give us the mean side of him, right? Like maybe he's only going to give us the patting the guys on the back or the just telling them, hey, we need to do this the correct way, da 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 da. But when he really, really is getting into folks, the intense Gainey, we probably won't get to see until game day, which is, that's fine. But I think he's going to be way harder than what we probably think he's going to be because he says he's going to coach these guys harder where they probably won't like him. We haven't seen anything near that so far. You probably don't want to put that out, on social media. So, all right, MKX8 Design says, Coach Gary, if you had to identify one habit coaching point from these practice clips that fans might overlook, but that could make the biggest difference once conference play starts, what would that? What would it be? Man, whew, that's a good That's a good question. Um, hmm, what would it be? I, hmm, I don't know. I because when you say um, fans might overlook, I don't know if it's going to be overlooked, but a big thing that I'm seeing, a big habits being created, is the walling up. So whenever somebody goes to the rim, you jump up straight in the air with your arms straight up, right? He's doing that drill. It seems a lot, and even with our shot blockers, he's doing that drill. I think that becomes a big thing because you can't block everything, and trying to block everything, you get in foul trouble. And you do play for NC State, so there's phantom fouls all the time. Okay, you can be a foot away from somebody and they'll call an NC State foul on you. We know this. So the fact that you wall up gives you a better chance of not getting a foul. But if you're a shot blocker and you're trying to block everything, like Evans might be trying to do, or Shaw Hall might be trying to do, we're gonna be in trouble. And I think coach is doing a good job of trying to create that foundation. Like, don't go trying to block everything that come in the paint. We just need you to alter the shot and go straight up. So for me, that would be my fundamental thing that I'm seeing. David Johnson says Jurkovic at center and EY at the four. We could conceivably put 5 3-point shooters on the floor at one time. Teams are going to have a hard time dealing with that. Yeah, we might have a hard time rebounding and guarding the paint. But you're right. Um, I mean, offensively, let's just talk about EY. So far, it looks like his shot is better than what we expected. Like, I know he shot a high clip, and I've said that he's an upgraded version of Darian Williams. But in these little clips, every time somebody's closing out on him, it's a bucket. I definitely like his ability to stretch the floor. I've not seen your guy Jurkovic shoot the three and hit it in practice. I'm seeing a lot of bricks, but I know he's supposed to be a good shooter also. So yeah, the offensively it is a very challenging group to guard. If you have those two on the floor also. What's realistic expectation for NC State this season? NCAA tournament, Sweet 16, or is that too much optimism? No. So it's a lot of different factors that we have to talk about here. We need guys to be better than what they're projected to be for NC State to be good. We got a lot of unproven dudes, right? The only person we really know some stuff about at this level is Paul, and we know Paul was streaky, so we even need this guy to be better. If Paul's not streaky and he averages 17 to 20 points a game, and Ed Mead is as advertised because they're hyping him up, talking about he's going to drop 30 a couple times. If that happens, and our bigs can hold their own, if I'm really sleeping on Jurkovic, right? And Mikey is who I think Mikey's going to be, and Evans continues to block shots at a high level, then NC State is, I think, easily a Sweet 16 team. I mean, it may decide on what our matchup is because me getting the tournament matchups, become a big thing. But I don't think a Sweet 16 is a crazy thought. But again, that's like the perfect storm. We need all that to go right. Now, if we're being realistic, and maybe one or two players play up a level and everybody else is sort of status quo, then we're probably, maybe we get one win in the tournament or we play one game and that's it and lose and don't get a win at all. But I do think our floor right now is probably going to be making the tournament. Just don't know if we're going to be able to win any games there. It depends on what our first matchup looks like right now. Now I'm gonna change my mind later on, maybe like 5 games in. I'll tell you if I feel differently at that point. Jonathan Gatlin says, "I'm here. What did I miss?" Uh, Not too much. I mean, we've been talking about how everybody feels about the clips. Jonathan, I know on X you had your 2 cents, and so please share, how you're feeling and what you've seen and things that you want to discuss. Um, Golden Arc says, "Hey, how do I get a shout out on the banner? Do I need to be a premium member?" Yeah, so the shout out on the banner, thank you for asking that, Golden, are the Den members so far. So, it is open. You all can check that out. But those are our Den members. So I'll make sure to shout them out when we get started here. Good question. James Johnson says, "I'm natty all the way once we gel and get that cohesiveness on defense and offense. NC State has always been a team of destiny. Look out when that stars starts to click, belt to the butt for our opponents." I hear you, James. I'm not quite there with talking about natties, right? Um, but I do hear you. I wasn't there talking about Final Four with Keats. So keep that optimism, man. Eddie Thomas says Gainey was definitely smart to leave those 2 spots open. You never know what's going to happen in today's unpredictable basketball climate. There you go, Eddie. That Gainey seems prepared for whatever, right? Over prepared at this point. Eddie says, "I like the aggressive defense. Just play defense without fouling. Not even in practice. Like you said, the pack will always get those ghost calls. Yes, they will." David Johnson says Gainey said that EY was a lot better post player than he thought, and Hall was further along than he anticipated. So let's stay hopeful we can surprise. Absolutely. Those are 2 big things. Look, EY is a better post player than we thought. EY is shooting the three at a high level from what I'm seeing. EY is bigger than probably what we thought he was. If he's all of six, if coach is talking about he's all of 6'8" barefoot, that means he seems a little bit bigger than what coach initially thought. Um, so I'm hype about EY. I want him to play the three, so we don't have Paul there. I'm not gonna get on that soapbox, but EY is definitely a good surprise I'm hearing so far. And to have Shaw Hall be further along is wonderful news. Could have predicted it, but it's wonderful news. James Johnson says a swayback mule and a jackass would be an upgrade over. Oh man, ooh, should have read this first. Would be an upgrade over Darian Williams. Paul gonna be the leader. It may not be. It may not have to be a 20-point scorer. Okay, I'm looking. I'm looking for a point guard to also be a distributor of the basketball. All right, James. So, oh man, your comment about Darian Williams is funny. Um, Paul. Okay, so we're getting clips of Paul. Even yesterday when he couldn't practice, he seemed to be vocal in practice. Right? I've wondered, is he going to be a leader? Can he be vocal and hold guys accountable? Um, Me seeing clips of him being a cheerleader does not change my thoughts. Okay, just because you're telling the guys, yeah, get there you go, boss. It sounds good. I'm hoping there's more, right? And coach says he's like, look, coach, we need this, and the guys want to do this, and I guess he's keeping guys together, whatever. But um, Yeah, I'm still at a loss for who the leader's actually going to be. So as soon as I get a good feeling about it, I'm gonna stand on business and let y'all know this is gonna be our leader. But right now, I'm still not sure. Right? We thought last year we thought we knew who our leader was gonna be, and then it ended up clearly being somebody else. So we shall see. All right, Jonathan Gatlin is here. He says, I'm a DA fan. Dude stood out more than anyone else. I'm excited about Ed Mead too. He made Evans look like he was small. So for everybody, DA Darius Adams. Okay, um, I'm along with that. Super. We've talked about it. Swiss Army knife type player. I like functional guys like that that have good size and play multiple positions. Love it. That's what Adams is gonna bring. Jonathan Gatlin's on him. Cool. Excited about Ed Mead. I think I like Ed Mead, and I like his game, but I'm not getting too hyped about him just yet because he is a smaller guard. So I got to see how that's gonna play out. I do understand, seeing him go to the rim on closeouts and stuff like that, be able to finish. That's good, but pumping my brakes on him right now just to see. Jonathan says, based off of the clips, would your starting five change? All right, so if I base it just off what I've seen on clips, I'm starting Ed Mead at the one. I'm starting Paul at two. I'm starting EY at three. Don't get me wrong, I want Adams in there, but I like bigger lineups. And I just feel like Adams might be my sixth man right now, coming off the bench. And then I'm gonna start Mikey. I don't need to see anymore about Mikey. Like, I thought it was gonna be, it's gonna take him some time. They're talking about he's gonna come in and be the guy. Maybe he takes a spot later. Nope. I am Mikey bought in. He looks like he's ready to play. He can handle the ball. He's got some quick twitch with him. I got him at the four. And then at the five, I'm gonna stick with Evans. I haven't seen enough of Shaw Hall right now to put him in the starting lineup at the five, but I feel like it's coming. So Jonathan, that's my starting five. Let me hear about yours if you haven't told us your shit. What's your starting five? Jack says my starting five is Ed Mead, Adams, McNeil, EY, and Evans. I hear you. That's decent. That's a decent starting five. I could roll with that, Jack. Eddie Thomas says only one of our last three Final Four runs was expected. 1974. The other two were total surprises. Let's hope for some surprises. I hear you. I hear you. But look, that the 83 one, like the team was pretty daggone good before um did Sidney Lowe get hurt or Derek Wittenberg? One of them got hurt that like had the pack sort of stumbling into getting into the tournament. But to start the year, we were pretty nice. But I forget exactly who that was because that was around the time I was born. But um, if you check it out, like with him in the lineup, we was completely different. So maybe with that one, but I feel like it's like when you get your star player back and everybody's thinking you're the team that you were, and then it's like, oh no, we're completely different when he's on the court. David Johnson says, I personally think there's so much potential in this team. Not like Wilfredo Wade, as where he let shooter fire until the arm swell. F. Wilfredo and F. Up philosophy. Oh, okay. F. Wilfredo and his effed up philosophies. Got you. Yeah. I will say, y'all, I'm not missing hearing about analytics. Like, I know it's part of basketball, but trying to tell me that, the stats say to let this dude shoot this particular three because I'm so tired of that and glad that Gainey's not spitting that trash at us. Um, so, yeah, good statement here. All right, Jonathan Gatlin's giving us his starting five here. He says, my starting five is at Mead, P2. I knew you were going to put Adams in there. Ooh, ooh, I like it. Mikey at the four and Shaw. You are going to start Shaw. Okay. I love the defensive possibilities of this five. Let's go. Listen, um, I Jonathan, I do like that lineup. Not gonna lie. Uh, yeah, I mean, I don't have any problems with this. Adams at the three, EY at the three. I don't have a problem. That's a this. I don't even have to say any more about that. I'm gonna just keep it moving because that's a very good lineup. David Johnson says his lineup is gonna be Evans at the five, EY at the four. I like it. Ah, you got McNeil at the three, David. I don't like that. Hammond at the two, and me playing point. You got Adams, Weedy, Hall, Mikey out the bench. Oh, David. Yeah, I don't like it. But, that's cool. Hammond is decent. I don't want him starting necessarily. I think Adams is better if we go with the three guard lineup. Um, I trust Adams more because he's played, at a in a tougher conference. Former McDonald's All American. Like I don't know, but I hear you on this. Now let's get to your bench. Okay, you got Witty. I'm looking at these clips. I don't see Witty touching the floor. I'm hoping this is wrong, but uh, the Comey dude, he seems like he might work his way into the rotation. He's big. He rebounds well. Seems to be a pretty good defender. Um, and he's probably not going. Yeah, I don't know if he's going to come in and run the point or whatever, but he might be in the way. Along with you already have Adams, you can slide there, and you have Hammy, you can slide there. It's just a crowded backcourt. So I'm looking forward to Whitty, making some noise. Coach says that's the thing. Coach says he's not going to do this short rotation mess. He's going to try to play as many guys as possible if, they are available to play, right? He might want to play 10, 11 if he can. Try to figure it out, but not tell guys, oh, I'm going to have a seven-man rotation. I like that because if you got some guys on the bench that can actually hoop, let them hoop. Don't limit yourself. I'm hoping that's a little opening to trying out, different lineups and not being so easy to scout. We shall see. All right, so let's see. Yeah, Johnson says I agree on Kamei. He seems like he can defend. Yeah, he's another one, man. Like we got some guys that I'm not gonna say that they're flying under the radar, but it seems like a lot of the Wolfpack sites, the players they're talking about, are not necessarily who's gonna be our main guys. Like I know Evans was the guy early, and he was, the leading shot blocker in the country. I get that. But if Shaw Hall can figure this thing out, I think it raises the what this team can do in having him in the game. Um, The same way with Adams, right? I know it was Hammond, and everybody's pushing Hammond, saying he's going to start, but he's not Adams. Like, Darius Adams to me seems like a potential upgrade from Matt Abel. Think about that. Like, he's definitely more functional in all three positions that he could play. Um, and so nobody's really talking about that. Then you have Mikey, and people are starting to get on board with Mikey now that coaches like continuously pumping him up. But I'm still not seeing enough. Like, what is taking people so long to be like, look, Mikey about to be a problem, a good problem. Okay, I don't know what the holdup is. It's if you're not convinced based off of any little clips you see, go off of what a coach is telling you. Can you think of a time when a coach says, I'm pushing you hard because you got a chance to be special, and the person just been, no. So I don't know what the holdup is in talking about Mikey, but they better get on board quick. Um, a lot of the hype was around, RJ Keene and being the glue guy. I get it. And it sounds like he is that glue guy. That's wonderful. But we just went through, I mean, nobody's mentioned him in, an 8-man rotation, right? Coach isn't gonna have that, but we talking nine, 10 players before we get to Keene. So, I'm just a little surprised on what is being pushed player wise and who they're like, oh, this person's going to be that and yada yada. So it's interesting to see how this is going to play out. David Johnson says Gainey did say he wants 10B possible. 10, oh, sorry, continuation 10 players. Wants 10 players if possible. Yeah. David also says, Jessica, I think Adams is better than Abel. He handles the ball way better. Absolutely. Um, I don't know how to until we get more tape. People are probably going to be like, yeah, I don't know, that might be a stretch, but it doesn't take much for me to see that Adams has a more smooth game, right? Abel is a little unorthodox, sort of like Taquavion was. He wants to finish with his left, wants to dunk with his left, shoots right-handed, sort of wants to drive going left, that type thing. You really don't see you didn't see him shooting a lot off the dribble, like a off a crossover, step back, stuff like that. So Adams can give you all of that. So yeah, you're right. Jonathan Gatlin says they are just saying Hammond because he was recruited first. Hammond's athleticism, I believe, will limit him in the ACC. He isn't playing at Santa Clara. Man, this part, look, I don't know how many I don't know how many times I'm seeing the projected starting five, including this guy. And I get it. He might have been very, very decent at Santa Clara. But as we all know, it's levels of this. And I'm not saying that he can't start for us, but I'm hoping that he doesn't. Um, I don't like that lineup for us. There's guys we could put in other positions. You all have heard me say it. And I don't think he's a bad player. I'm just like, with the team we have, I don't see him starting. So why we keep pushing him to start? All right, Eddie Thomas says, at me, P2, Adams, Mikey, Evans. First in, Shaw, EY, Hammond. Hopefully a larger rotation before ACC play begins. All right, Eddie, let's talk about this. Um, Ed Me, P2, Adams. Mikey Evans. Okay. The five, starting five, I like. Now, the first in, I do not believe it's going to be Shaw Hall, um, but wouldn't be mad at it. Okay. Then you got EY Hammond. Like, EY, I can see being the first one in. Um, and I guess Hammond. So I guess if I look at it like first in those three, I see what you're saying there. Yeah, maybe they all come in at the same time, boom, rotate out. I could see that. Yeah, I really want my guy EY to start. What I'm saying from him, when I'm hearing about him, I'm like, I want him to start, but somebody's got to go. I don't think it's gonna be Mikey. So yeah, that's it's a good problem to have, right? Between those, it's a good problem. I don't think there's gonna be a huge drop off between Mikey and EY or vice versa. Christopher Burke says Abel versus Adams when we play UNC is going to be cinema. Christopher, thank you for this comment here. I don't know that it's going to be cinema. I'm gonna tell you why. From my perspective, I think Adams is going to have a much smaller role than what Abel is going to have. I think Abel is going to be expected to do more than what he's probably capable of doing or should be doing for a team in year two, right? When you look at Carolina's team, and I've commented on them, they hate me, guys. Let me tell you, these Carolina people are hot with your boy. They're sending me to all types of places because of the way I talked about their team, which I don't care. But with their team, Abel went there because he was like, oh, he can make plays and he can do all this other stuff. He's gonna have to score a good amount of points for them to be decent. He just is. And Adams is not gonna be in that position. So I don't think it's gonna be as much cinema as we would want it to be. But we shall see. Eddie Thomas says, I hope Abel will have to eat those upgrade comments. Absolutely. I've already said, I hope he has the worst season ever. James Johnson says Gainey will settle on 7 or 8 players by conference and tournament time. Most shorten rotations by that time in the season. I hear you, James, but he's saying he's not going to do that, right? I don't think. I mean, as a first time coach, he has the opportunity to not make that his style. He can make his style. I'm going to play 9 or 10 guys if I got him. He feels that having a deep team is an asset. That's an advantage. So hopefully he practices what he preaches. So far, you don't seem to be a guy just talking to talk. Jonathan Gatlin asked what excited you the most from the clips and what disappointed you the most. So, Jonathan, you did miss that part. I spoke a little bit about MK X asked me about this. And for me, what was disappointing was the closeouts on when they're doing that drill, where they're walling up and then they're coming from the paint to close out on the shooter. There was a lot of blow-bys, whole lot of blow-bys. Now I know this is a drill with where you'll have limited people on the court, so there's more space. There's no help defenders. I get it, but for me, that was disappointing to see. They're working on defense and the closeouts are poor. As for what excited me, I'm gonna say I don't want to say necessarily excited me, but what I liked was I'm watching the closeout and the guy's shooting the three, and EY is hitting his three with people putting a hand in his face. That was encouraging. I'm not gonna say it's exciting for me. It's like, okay, good. I like that. Um, I like that a lot. After hearing Coach say, he's in better shape. He's probably a little bit bigger than what we thought he was. He can handle his own in the post. Well, he not even talking about his 3-point shooting, and then they're showing clips, and he's hitting the three while you closing out on him, which means we literally, if we play him at the four, have a stretch four. That gets me, some optimism right there. Like, okay. Christopher Burke says, I agree with you. Abel is definitely going to be asked to do a lot more at UNC. He'll be under a lot more pressure to produce. Look, I will give um, some of these Carolina people credit about one thing. They say that, playing there is different, right? It's way more pressure. I believe it. Because you got Carolina fans and their expectation is, oh, they need to win a national championship every year, right? And they freaking lose it if things don't go exactly how they wanted to go and they cry. So I get where they're coming from with that. And we're talking about a guy who not only is probably going to get flack from coming from NC State until they fully accept him, but if he starts off shaky or isn't performing at the level they expected, oh, they're gonna throw him under the bus. They're gonna be like, oh, he brought the state stuff with him or whatever. Like they gonna trash this dude. So he has to perform at a high level. And even then, every little thing he does is gonna be on a microscope. But he chose that, so I have no pity on him. Like I don't care. All right, David Johnson says Adams has a good chance to be our backup point guard. I'm hoping Whitty gets some shine. Me too. I do. I'm on the Whitty bandwagon. I hope he gets in the game. Might take a little while, but we shall see. David also says I'm excited about the projects we have in the post. Let's go Wolfpack. All right. Jonathan Gatlin says give us your top four scores next year. All right, Jonathan. So on our team, our top four leading scorers are going to be Ed Mead, Paul, I think EY and wonder who we have next. Maybe maybe Evans, I guess. I was trying to think would it be somebody coming off the bench that comes in strictly to be offense, but uh yeah, we just don't talk about Evans much offensively, but I'm thinking if he can do a decent the fourth scorer, let's put it this way, is going to be someone getting rebounds. Because we're gonna be putting it up, especially from three. Like I think there's gonna be a lot of 3-point shooting. There's gonna be a lot of open shots with the court spread out because 1 through 4 is definitely gonna be able to play on the perimeter. Um, and so it gives an opportunity for a lot of threes. That also opens up driving lanes. And Mead doesn't seem to finish that great, or at least he didn't finish that great. And so if he's shooting like floaters or falling down, and offensive rebounds become a thing, tip ins. So one of our bigs is probably going to end up being that next person. That's what I would say. I think the first three are pretty solid though. Jonathan says my top four is Ed Mead, Paul, EY, and Adams. Look, I like it. When you put Adams' name in there, I like it. I'm trying not to get too caught up in pushing Adams because I know I can get let down. But I'm 100% confident by the end of the year he's gonna be a major factor. I just don't know if it's gonna be early enough that he's considered one of our top scorers. But going into next year, he will be a priority. That is clear. Like Of all the people Gainey needs to keep, he's going to be near the top. I'm telling y'all that right now. He's going to have that type of year. So tell me, what do y'all think about um the assistant coaches? We've had the opportunity to hear them mic'd up. Um, I think almost all of them, but I want to know your thoughts on the assistants. Um, let me know that I am going to have another episode coming out with Casey Marcel, and we're gonna just chat it up. Start an interview. He and I just gonna talk, NC State basketball, and so make sure you turn on your notifications. Keep your eye out for that. But I want to know what y'all think about our staff, because you're seeing them interact with the players in these clips, right? Johnson Gary, you know that dude is tough. I do know that he is tough. I just want to make sure everybody else knows before I go super all in on, oh, Adams is going to average da da da. Because if they try to hold my man back, then we got to see. I don't think Gainey would do that, but we got to see. Christopher Burke says, really like the assistant coaches, very involved and hands on. Okay. David Johnson says, think it's a stellar staff. Man, that's a tongue twister right there. At this point, look, I agree. The staff, to me, has been one of the more impressive things so far. Okay. I don't get the vibe that the staff is, whether they are not running off of, tell me what to do next, coach. Like, it seems like a staff that's been together for a while, or he has given them autonomy on, what they actually implement to help guys improve, right? If you got a coach that's like, oh, okay, he coached the bigs, do your big man drills. And I'm going to stand over here and watch them execute what you want them to execute. Not, this is what we're going to do for this, this, and this. And you all go do it. I don't get that vibe. Could be wrong, but it seems like he's letting them be what he hired them for, right? The expert in their particular part of coaching. If they are used to, if they've worked with guards before and their strength is, I don't know, improving ball handling, or um, on ball defense, any of that stuff, I feel like, which he probably has more say in it because that was more his lane. um I just feel like, I just get the vibe he's letting them do their thing. So that's promising. I think I really really like that part. um Jonathan Gallen says Alvin Brooks is my guy. I know his dad. Alvin Brooks says, oh, Alvin Brooks the third is my guy. I know his dad, Alvin Brooks the second, from when I coached. Oh, okay, cool. What's up? Well, look, ask Alvin Brooks if he wants to come on here and just connect with the fans, right? We don't even need him telling any secrets. But let him know. Packing with Gary would like to chat it up with him. I will tell y'all, as I'm thinking about it, there's a drill that the guys were doing where I guess it's more of a pressure defense, or I don't know if it's a ball handling drill, but the guys are on the court and one guy's dribbling, the other guy's guarding them, and they're like in a line across. And you just got your back to the defender, right? And the defender is uh, trying to poke at the ball from both sides. Right? They're moving to the right side, poke. You have to move the ball to your left. They go over to that side, try to poke the ball away. And as I'm looking at that, I'm like, hopefully that's not creating any bad habits of them wanting to reach. But then at the same time, I'm like, maybe it is literally just for, ball handling and for the guards to get comfortable with the ball pressure. If that's what's happening, then I like it, right? If you're saying, oh, look, you got to work on protecting the ball, while you're in the backcourt, or if they're pressing up on you, If it's strictly for that, cool. But the other way around, it's looking like a whole lot of fouling. So but we'll see how that goes. Um, David Johnson says him being a new coach, I think he acquitted his staff very well. I agree. I agree. Eddie Thomas says, I like what I've seen so far with the staff. All seem to like being here. Wondering who will be responsible for scouting reports during the season. Yeah, it's a good question. Yes, Jonathan, please ask. I appreciate that. Um, yeah, I've said it. If you're just getting on here, I've said it from the beginning. The fact that coaches giving us any type of insight on what's happening, what he's doing in the program. Um, I think that whenever you open yourself up to criticism like that, like people gonna have their 2 cents. We're talking about it now. Like, what do we think about what he's doing? Right? That's big, especially with you being a first year coach. Because he could have came in here and said, "Look, I'm laying the groundwork. You'll see what's gonna happen. We're gonna do this, this, and this. Do a whole lot of talking, and then the season starts, and then we wonder like, what you been doing all summer, right? But he's not doing that, and I think a lot of that is going. Um, it's not necessarily unnoticed, but he's not getting credit for that part. I don't think right now. It's like as media, people are just like, oh, and they're just posting, boom, boom, boom. But this is a big deal for a first year coach to say, look, I have confidence in what I'm doing and how I'm going about it, and I'm gonna show y'all so you can see if you're doubting me. Really, really think that's a big thing. Shout out to 6 feet 5 in Florida 36, one of the Den members. One thing that would be important for Gainey is to listen to his assistants. The two most recent coaches were stuck on stupid and did make obvious. Uh, did make OBV. Did make. Oh, he has a second part here. The two most recent coaches were stuck on stupid and did make obvious adjustments. Didn't make obvious adjustments, I believe. Um, yeah, you're right. This right here is a bar from our guy 6 feet 5. He is like, look, obviously those two head coaches, we go ahead and say it, Wade and Keats, were like, it's going my way, right? I'm going down my way. It is what it is. I'm not listening to anybody. Um, I'm not changing. This is my style. I don't want to see any more of that. I agree. I'm so tired of seeing coaches not being able to pivot or willing to adjust, right? Gainey, as a first year coach, has to do that. And I don't see how he wouldn't. Like, you don't, whatever you're bringing to the table, you don't know if it's going to work. Like, you can't say I'm leaning on 20 years of doing this. I know it works eventually. You can't do that. So for him, I'm thinking he's not going to have any of that stubbornness. If he's trying something and it's not working, we getting our butt whooped, he needs to look to the guy that's been a head coach, or he needs to look to somebody else and be like, look, guys, we got to do something else. Because if as a first year coach, if you that stubborn, oh man, it's going to be a quick tenure. Because yeah, we don't do well with that. David Johnson says Gainey seems to have supreme confidence in his abilities. I agree. But with that, he has to be willing to be somewhat humble and open to other perspectives, right? Like, and again, I've said this. I don't think that's going to be an issue. His practices or drills already look like this guy is willing to listen to other people and give other people the a voice in what's going on. I think we will see, a coach being able to pull somebody to the side, timeouts, be able to speak during timeouts, um, more of the interaction in game type thing. Like, I think he's come from that. And so I don't have that as much of a concern. David also says, love Gainey, go Wolfpack. I trust in him. Yeah, look, I want Gainey to be, as you all probably do. I want Gainey to be the man. It would be cool to say, you know what? I remember seeing one of our best coaches ever play, right? Like, oh, he played for us and then he came back, and it's a great story. 30 for 30 level stuff, especially after having this guy just use and abuse us and roll out to his little friends back where he came from. Um, would love to see that story and be able to, sort of say, oh yeah, we lived through that, we saw it. Um, but the key is going to be, can he adapt? Right? He's doing a lot of talk about relationships. He really believes it's about building relationships. And I will say, of all the things Gainey has said, that's the one that concerns me the most. Is, I get you're a relationship guy. Man, these kids are chasing a bag. And I know Coach has an understanding of that being at Tennessee and in the SEC, but I'm just not sure that the relationship building is going to be enough. Like, I'm hoping it is. Man, I'm hoping he's right. But that statement concerns me because, and let's say he's wrong and the relationship's not enough. Can our coach pivot? Can he be like, you know what? All right, I got to move different in this landscape of college basketball now. I thought as an assistant it was going to be the, oh, I create relationships. The guys want to rock with me as the head coach. They're like, coach, what have you done for me lately? How much can you get me now? I appreciate you got me, exposure, and I'm nice at this point, but this other school wants to give me 5, 6 mil. Can you afford it? No? Cool. Because a lot of this, even with chasing the bag, some of these players, majority of these players, will not have NBA careers. Some of them may not even play professionally, and they are doing what they can do to get as much money in school now, which is smart. I don't hate that thought process, and like, I have to maximize my time as an athlete and get as much money as I can. So if one school can pay me $2 more million than another school, two additional, right? Then I'm not mad at that particular player. But Gainey to me seems to believe that, hey, it's gonna be, if we're close in bidding, it's gonna be about the relationship. And I'm really, really, really hoping he's correct. Yeah. Let's see if I was gonna cover something else with you guys. Just get in, please. Comment. Tell me what you're thinking about our pack. Um, we've covered about as much as we can, guys. I believe. So that's all I have. If you all don't have anything else, I will go ahead and thank y'all for chiming in. Um, please share the channel with your Wolfpack family, Wolfpack friends. Make sure we get everybody in here so we can say our 2 cents, especially when the season gets started here. We need to chime in and see how we feeling. Um, until next time, go Pat.